Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
जय राधे श्याम राधे श्याम राधे श्याम जय राधे श्याम
जय राधे श्याम राधे श्याम राधे श्याम जय राधे श्याम
हरि बोल हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा
in this beautiful home of Sangeeta ji and Gopal ji Narang, and on their behalf I would like to take the pleasure and privilege and honor of welcoming His Holiness Radhanath Swami. We are indeed extremely honored today to have him in our midst. And some of you may already know him as ISKCON spiritual leader, motivational speaker, and the author of the New York Times bestseller, The Journey Home. Have any of you read his book, The Journey Home? Yes, many of you. And for those who haven't, I urge you please to do pick up a copy of it, which will be available at the end of the program, and read it, because it is a book that has changed many of our lives. And more recently, he has written the book, The Journey Within, which is also on the best-selling list. Of course, Radhanath Swami is all these things, motivational speaker, ISKCON leader. But apart from that, he is much, much more. To many of us, me personally and my family, and some of us present here, he has been our philosopher, our guide, our guiding light, our ever well-wishing friend, and our guru. And for that, we remain ever grateful to him, because he has been the inspiration in our lives, the inspiration for us to lead a life less ordinary. And His Holiness himself has had a very extraordinary and remarkable journey, which he has written about in his book, The Journey Home. And this talks about when he was only 19, he was a young boy in Chicago, having all the creature comforts and a good life with his parents and siblings, and yet he felt he had to do something more to make this world a better place. And so he embarked on a journey a perilous journey all the way from Chicago. He flew to England, London, and there he started a very remarkable hitchhiking journey all the way across Europe, across Asia Minor, coming to India, because he had been constantly hearing a voice in his heart which told him, go to India. And on this very severe journey, which he did penniless, he did not have any money, he risked his life on so many occasions, and he nearly got himself killed several times. And yet, that did not deter him. He kept on until he finally came to the border of Pakistan and India. And there, he begged the immigration officer, who actually would not let him in, because they said, our country has enough beggars. India doesn't need any more. You can stay out. But he pleaded. He said, sir, please let me enter your great country of India, because one day I will do something for the people of India. And since that historic journey, since his entering India, which has been almost 4 decades ago, His Holiness Radhanath Swami has kept his word and done a lot for us and our country. He has basically inspired people, brought people together in the service, in the mood of service and compassion, and engaged ordinary people to do extraordinary things in various service projects. Some of them I will enlist. They are the Bhaktivedanta Hospital and Research Center in Mira Road. Then the Bhaktivedanta Hospice for terminally ill and dying patients in Vrindavan. He has also set up the midday meal program, Anamrita, as we know it, which every single school day, it serves 1.2 million cooked, nutritious, healthy, hygienic meals to underprivileged children studying in schools across the country. He has also initiated the Barsana Rural Eye Camp in a small village in UP, where thousands of free cataract surgeries are conducted for the villagers every year. And also near Mumbai, we have the Govardhan Eco Village. Perhaps some of you may have visited or heard, and for those who haven't, please do visit. This is a wonderful initiative inspired by Radhanath Swami, where the principles of simple living and high thinking have come together in this eco-village, which is a spiritual retreat for all of us. So these are only some of his projects, and we are indeed fortunate to be connected in some manner, shape or form to lead lives less ordinary, to lead lives in a spirit of service and compassion. Thank you so much. I now request His Holiness to please address us. Thank you.
Jnananjanachalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशधारिणे नमो महावरण्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरद्वेषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कंचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवे प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदन ब्रज जन रंजना यमुना तीरा पनचारी। वंदे कृष्ण नंद कुमारा वंदे कृष्ण नंद कुमारा। नंद कुमार मोहन रूपा नंद कुमार मोहन रूपा। मोहन रूप मदन गोपाला। जय जय देव हरि जय जय देव हरि। जय प्रभु दीन दयाल हरि। জয় প্রভু দীন দয়াল হরি গোবিন্দ হরি গোপাল হরি গোবিন্দ হরি গোপাল হরি গোবিন্দ হরি গোপাল হরি গোবিন্দ হরি গোপাল হরি জয় রাম হরি জয় কৃষ্ণ হরি জয় রাম হরি জয় কৃষ্ণ হরি জয় জয় দেব হরি জয় জয় দেব হরি জয় প্রভু দীন দয়াল হরি বন্দে কৃষ্ণ নন্দ কুমার বন্দে কৃষ্ণ নন্দ কুমার হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে 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 রাম 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 হরে Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
It is truly my honor and pleasure to be with all of you this evening. Very special, heartfelt gratitude to this wonderful family who have opened the doors to their home on this very auspicious night. Thank you. I have been, by Krishna's grace, living in India as more or less for 48 years now. I came in 1970. When I first arrived, I was really a stranger in a foreign land by social estimation. As our dear Namamrita Devi was explaining, I did not have any money. I crossed the border. It was already dark outside in Firozpur from Pakistan. I went over through the no man's land. It was not in a city area, it was just agricultural fields and forests. I was walking through these fields. There was a moon, there was stars. I didn't know which way to go. I wasn't on a road, I was just in a field. The first Indian person I ever met in my life was the border guard at the border. Because before the 70s, there were hardly any Indian people in the United States. And the first I met was not friendly, forbid me to enter. But I was walking through that field, not knowing where to go, not knowing anyone. I never felt so at home. I felt I was being embraced by my mother. I felt every star was blessing me. Every leaf and every tree was blessing me. I truly felt at home, more than ever before in my life. And this evening, before coming up to this beautifully decorated terrace, I sat for some time with the family. Such a united family, so much affection, centered around, the higher principles of each other. It is the legacy, it is the heritage of India. It is what India has to really contribute to the world. The principles of Dharma. The principles of Dharma that keeps families together. The principles of Dharma where we do our work with integrity. We earn with integrity. We spend with compassion. We understand the vision of the sages, the rishis, the kings, the families of India have preserved over the centuries. That real wealth, real success is the integrity of our lives, the character we live. There's a foundation we build our life on, and that's principles. Greed, arrogance, selfishness, envy, anger, unnecessary anger born of an unsatisfied mind and senses. These are principles that have grown in this age of Kali Yuga to be heroic. Someone who becomes powerful, successful, famous, wealthy, based on cheating, greed, arrogance, all over the world, these people are considered heroes. But actually, from a perspective of truth, from the perspective of a civilized heart, and this is universal, such people are pathetic because they have poverty in their hearts. A rich heart is a heart that is rich with love and compassion. A poverty-stricken heart is a heart that's struck by the disease of greed, selfishness, and therefore true love and true compassion cannot exist. Even so-called love becomes selfish. This is the greatness of India. People live for higher principles. Two of the greatest epics of our Indian culture are the Mahabharata and Ramayana. In traditional Indian homes, children are told stories from Ramayana and Mahabharata, sometimes every day. People are brought up understanding not just the stories, but the messages, the principles that the stories inspire. So obviously, Mahabharata is 100,000 verses, Ramayana is very long, so we can't speak so much tonight. But I'd like to discuss very briefly a specific parallel line of thought that are common in both. the characters of Vidura and Vibhishan. Vidura was the younger brother of Dhritarashtra. Vidura was a man of dharma, a man of real character. He was fair, and he was actually everyone's well-wisher. He saw Dhritarashtra, due to attachment to his son, he didn't try to discipline his son. He spoiled his son miserably. Duryodhana was envious, greedy, selfish, and was willing to get what he wanted by any means. Even if it meant murdering his own auntie, Kunti, who loved him like her own son. Murdering his own cousin brothers, Yudhisthira, who was never anything but a well-wisher to him. And Dhritarashtra went around with he went along with everything. He was responsible. Dhritarashtra was blind physically, blind morally, and blind spiritually. Under Dhritarashtra's rule, Draupadi, who was the symbol of dharma, of devotion, she was exploited, she was abused. And if not for Krishna's intervention, she would have been abused far more than she was. Vidura was always giving Dhritarashtra good advice. But Dhritarashtra would not listen because of selfish attachments. Vidura was always giving Duryodhana good advice. And ultimately Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra, because of Vidura's good advice, trying to lead his brother and his nephew on the path of morality, truth, and dharma. He was verbally abused, and he was exiled. His house, his family, his everything was taken away. He was nothing but a well-wisher. He was compassionate toward everyone. But he stood up for the truth at any cost. He lived with dharma at any cost. Vidura is one of the greatest of all heroes. In the great scriptures of the Vedas. And ultimately, after the Pandavas were victorious in Kurukshetra, Vidura returned to spiritually enlighten his own brother, Dhritarashtra, who violently turned against him. He came back and saved his life. Similarly, Vibhishan, he was the younger brother of Ravana. Ravana was selfish, he was greedy, he was exploitative, he was violent, and Vibhishan was always giving him good advice, but never listened. He lived by such principles. When Hanumanji jumped across the ocean and came to Sri Lanka, he assumed a little form about the size of a cat, little monkey form, very small. He was searching for Sita. He saw Ravana's palace. It was so beautiful. And he saw how Ravana was just such an arrogant, greedy, immoral person. As Duryodhana tried to, and Dhritarashtra allowed Draupadi to be abused, Ravana stole Sita, the supreme goddess of fortune. Again, the symbol of chastity and purity and goodness. When Hanuman saw how Vibhishan was living, he had power, he had knowledge, but he was living with such humility, compassion, and devotion. And he was never afraid to tell Ravana what was the truth, even though at every step he was rejected. He never gave up. He was truly a well-wisher of Ravana, his brother. As evil as he was, he wanted to change him. And ultimately, at a certain point, Ravana, like what Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana did to Vidura, he kicked Vibhishan out of the kingdom and took everything away from him. Vibhishan went to Ram out of love for his brother, out of compassion to Sita. And he helped Ram. And eventually, when Ravana was killed, Vibhishan did the last rites for him. Vibhishan, like Vidura, helped his elder brother to gain liberation. And then Vibhishan became king. He ruled armies. He taxed citizens. Being a king is an enormous responsibility. He didn't go to the forest just to meditate. He did something higher. The very basis of the Gita is we perform our duty with devotion, with compassion, with integrity. And unfortunately, even people in India sometimes ask, how will we not get cheated and trampled on if we live by dharma in politics, in the business world, even in the educational world? It's like a dog-eat-dog world. How do you succeed? But the incredible thing about the Ramayana, Mahabharata, Srimad Bhagavatam, all these great histories, is it speaks about people who were most competitive, most efficient, most courageous, and most successful. But their lives were built on integrity, character, and love for God, love for Ram, Krishna. Because they had a foundation. Most important part of a building is a foundation. We don't see it. Right now we're on the terrace, the top part, and we're sitting very comfortably, and we're very happy. It's so nice. We're thinking such a beautiful wooden floor and marbles, nice trees, champak trees with flowers blooming, and nice furnitures. Up here, not many of us are thinking, what a beautiful foundation is under us. Because the foundation is not visibly seen, but it's supporting everything that's visibly seen. If you build a magnificent house without a strong foundation, when a storm comes, it crumbles to the ground. Whether you build a simple little hut or a massive skyscraper building, if it has a strong foundation, any storm will come and it stands. Problem in the world is people don't have proper foundations in their lives. What is the foundation of our life? It's the values that we hold sacred. That's the most important responsibility of a family, is to imbibe and preserve generation after generation the foundation of high values. From a philosophical perspective, from a scientific perspective, what is high values? We have a body, we have a mind, but who am I? The body's always changing, from childhood to youth to old age. Dehinos linyata dehe komaram yovanam jara, the Bhagavad Gita tells. But we are the same person, witnessing all these changes of the body. Some of us here tonight are very young, just looking forward to what we can accomplish in life. And some of us are getting really old, and we're thinking, what have I done with my life? What have I actually given to my family and to the world? But the baby and the grandfather, grandmother, great-grandfather, grandmother, the soul is the same through all these changes. Najayate mriyate vakadachat. Because the Atma, the living force that is animating, that is giving us the power, the person that's seeing through our eyes and hearing through our ears, the Bhagavad Gita tells, is eternal. Mamaivam so jivaloke jivabhuta sanatana. The living force is a part of God. Sanatana Dharma is to harmonize our occupation, our relationships, with our true dharma. What is the Jaiva Dharma, the Dharma of the soul? It's to serve with love. When we realize our potential, the prema, that is our true wealth, hidden somewhere within our hearts, is this prema, this divine love. The essence of every religion is to discover and awaken that divine love that's within us. Krishna prema, love for Krishna. And the fulfillment, the ananda of that love is our true happiness. That's within us. That's beyond birth and it's beyond death. It's real. As we connect to that foundation, of inner fulfillment, inner love. It expresses as compassion, fearless compassion. Compassion that doesn't make us weak. It makes us truly strong. But not strong to exploit. Strong to actually benefit others. When the storms of temptation, when the storms of fear come, and they come, because the world has so many seasons that could come at any moment, we need a strong foundation to actually truly be happy through those situations, to truly give other people happiness through their situations, and to live with dignity, with character, and to teach our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren that this is what the real wealth of life is, this character. And it's so interesting that most of the examples in the Vedic scriptures of people who live like this are queens and kings and very powerful leaders of society. And then there's also the sadhus. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there was a sadhu named Durvasa. And he became very angry at Ambarish. Ambarish was a husband and a father. He was in politics. Durvasa Muni, because of a misconception that he was insulted, Ambarish was doing nothing but trying to give gracious hospitality to Durvasa, who came to his house. But sometimes sadhus can get irrational. And he was so insulted by a mistake. He wanted to kill Ambarish. And Ambarish, he had no fear. He had only compassion to Durvasa. And eventually, you probably all know the story, the world will forever know how wonderful this father and husband was, what a great saint he is, and how unfortunately covered over this sadhu was. What is a sadhu in truth? A sadhu is one who lives with character. We may be swamis, we may be mothers, we may be in business, we may be farmers, engineers, scientists, doctors, lawyers. These are all details. Every one of these different positions in society are required for society. But like there are many parts of the body, all the parts of the body serve their function for the purpose of the benefit of the whole body. It's not that the heart is thinking it's all about me. The blood for every cell of the body. It's not that the stomach thinks, well, I have all the food, I'm going to just keep it for myself. If the stomach does that, the stomach's eventually going to suffer. For a little while, he's going to think, oh, see how powerful I am. Everyone's depending on me. But a healthy stomach provides to every cell of the body nourishment. The competition of the various parts of the body is how to get as much benefits to every other part of the body. Hanuman was a brahmachari. He lived in a cave. Vibhishan, later on, he was a king. He lived in a royal golden palace. But they were united. They respected each other. Why? Because they all had this inner foundation of peace and fulfillment based on spiritual principles. To give is to love. In the principles of Dharma, when we take, we only take to share. We don't take to keep. Taking to keep is a diseased condition that brings about fear, anxiety, arrogance, greed, envy, no peace, no true love. When we take in an honorable way, even if it's competitive, for the purpose of sharing it. If we have fame, we use our fame to share something good for society. If we have wealth, we use our wealth to share something good with society. If we have skills, we do the same. That's a healthy human being. You see, the greatest teacher is a good example. To actually care. Caring is a responsibility for the body, for the mind, for the soul. I was sharing in the car today with Gopal, and his son's name is? Advaita. We were discussing India, up until more modern times, has always been the beacon light for knowledge, for hope, for spiritual enlightenment for the world. In 1969-70, I hitchhiked all the way to India, not to learn engineering. I didn't come here for any other reason except to find truth, to find enlightenment. And this has been the contribution of India to the world forever. But somehow or other, people of India, to a large extent, have forgotten the real wealth, the real treasure. My guru, Srila Prabhupada, he left Vrindavan. He was living there for many years. He is a sannyasi, a swami. He left to go to New York City. He was approximately 70 years old. He went on a cargo ship. Not to take anything, to give the wealth of India's great legacy of spiritual knowledge. And because he was such an example of selfless service. I remember he came to Mumbai. He came back just a few years later, and he was speaking to some of the business people of Mumbai. He said, I left India at the age of 70 with 40 rupees. And now I'm the leader of a society and this is back in 1971 he said this. He said it's making over 40 lakhs every day. Something like that. But he didn't claim anything to be his own. He was doing everything to share with others. When he went to London in 1969, he was asked, "Why have you come here? We have our own religion. We have our own society. Why have you come?" Srila Prabhupada said, the British from London ruled over India for almost 200 years. And in those 200 years, almost all the wealth of India, as much as you can get, you brought it to London. But you forgot one thing. The greatest of all the treasures of India. You forgot to take it. India's culture. I have come to give you freely what you forgot to take. Because the Vedic literatures are so deep, they're so profound, they're universal. One who understands properly, it's inclusive, can harmonize all the various true religious principles. And that's why so many of these Western people accept it. It's what people are looking for. A culture based on an integrity, a character, and spiritual principles that are truly scientific, deep, and inclusive. This is what the great kings and queens, this is what the great sages of India lived by. And preserved by families. Now, today, once again, India is becoming very strong from an economic and scientific and political and social perspective. When I came in 1970, India was considered one of the weakest, most forsaken countries on the planet. If somebody came here then, they were just coming for enlightenment. Now, I know multi-billionaires in California, and they're kind of old. And because they have so much wealth, every part of their body, they have a select, different specialist doctor. And they tell me every doctor they have has to be from India. And these are American people. These are white, Anglo-Saxon, American type people. Because there's no one who could be a doctor like people from India. Software industry, how India is transforming the world. The financial industry. There are people in the Congress now from India, some of the most respected in America and London. Yes, India is now becoming a major force of progress for the world. So the people of India now have the greatest opportunity through their professions, through their interactions, to actually exemplify, teach by example, these sacred principles of Dharma, of true character. Hanuman was not lazy. He was a true devotee. Hanuman was the humblest of all humble people, but he was fearless. and nothing could stop him from winning. But it was different than Ravana. Ravana wanted to exploit Sita, and Hanuman wanted to bring Sita back to Ram. So these are very hopeful times. And I want to thank this wonderful family for having such beautiful, wonderful spiritual values. If we put Krishna in the center of our lives, of our relationships, of our occupations, then everything becomes truly auspicious. We have something deeply meaningful, purposeful, valuable to live for, to share with our loved ones, and to share with the world. And what is that? Sanatana Dharma. The love for Krishna that is within our hearts. This chanting of God's names is especially recommended in Kali Yuga for awakening this love. We can all establish and sustain this foundation in our lives by 3 simple principles, eternal principles: satsang, sadhana, and sadachar. Satsang is to be with people who truly inspire faith in the right thing. To be with true sadhus. And a true sadhu could be a businessman or woman, could be a student. It's somebody who's living by the principles of devotion. People who uplift us. We could share it in our own family, satsang, to come together for this higher purpose, this higher spiritually enlightening cause. When we regularly meet with high-minded people, we develop faith that there is something sacred in life that is within me and that I can be a part of. And then we have sadhana. We have a spiritual practice every day through our chanting of mantras, through our puja, through our prayers, to reconnect us to that treasure within us, to reconnect us with our soul, to reharmonize the body, the mind with our true self, to reconnect us with Krishna. And then sadachar. When we have that faith-inspiring association, when we have that regular daily practice, then we apply it to our life. Sadachar means character. To integrate our values into how we interact with people and how we perform our occupation in life. Sadachar means integrity, character, and seva. Then the greatest joy in life is how we could uplift others. Thank you very much. Would anyone like to ask any question? I think you had a question before.
So I was trying to ask you earlier, when we close our eyes and we want to sit and pray, the mind moves in two directions. This one is actually racing fast, and probably you feel that you're traveling somewhere. And at that point in time, you want to somehow manage to look inside instead of traveling outside. And you're left in that empty space and you're not able to figure out how do you want to go inside. And that's the question that keeps coming to me whenever I sit down to pray. Is there an answer you can give me or a direction for that?
You're saying that the mind wants to race outside?
Mind is moving in both directions and then it stays static because you don't want to go outside and you want to go inside.
Let us take Hanuman, for example. He prayed. And that prayer, he harmonized both the inside and the outside. Yes? He was connecting to Ram within his heart through his meditation and prayer, and he was also connecting with Ram through his actions. When he was fighting with his club, every swing of his club was a connection with Ram because it was seva. When he was jumping over the ocean, he was traveling. He wasn't going away from Ram. He was going toward Ram because he was going there for Ram. When we chant a mantra, we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, and our mala. Sometimes they're called prayer beads. Because as we're chanting, the prayerful mood that we have is, Hare is Radha, the divine feminine aspect of the one supreme truth. The mother of love, the mother of devotion, the mother of compassion. Hare. So we're praying Shri Radha, Shri Krishna, Ram, the giver of all pleasure. Please engage me in serving you with love. That's the prayer of the Maha Mantra. So some of us for a few minutes, others for several hours every day are chanting our little mala, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, with the prayer. Please engage me in serving you with love. But just sitting and doing that is not enough. It has to be balanced with a life where we're actually trying to serve with love. Then our minds are busy, working as fast as anybody else's. Arjuna his mind was working as fast as Duryodhana's. But one was doing with greed and envy, and one was doing it with love. They apparently were doing the same things, but their motivation and the result was completely different. So as we're chanting, the mind drifts away, we just bring it back to the sound of the mantra. It's very simple. That's why mantra meditation is so much recommended in this age. We just hear Hare Krishna, we're hearing Krishna, and that name itself, that mantra itself is divine. That mantra itself is a connection with Krishna. And then the mind naturally races away. But the intelligence should be like a mother. Sometimes a little child races into naughty places and the mother brings him back. So the intelligence, when it sees the mind racing, brings back. And how do we bring back? Just by hearing. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.